English for Economists, a podcast for anyone who wants to learn how to speak about the economy in English. Hello and welcome. My name is Alan Robert, and today is February 16th, 2022. Our topic today concerns central bank policy rates. Here are our keywords and expressions. You'll hear me use them in context a little later. Listen closely. Soaring inflation. Well, that's inflation that increases quickly and substantially. Birds soar. Planes soar. You get the idea. Surging prices. Well, those are prices that increase suddenly and substantially. Surging. Tightening monetary policy. Well, that's when central banks raise their lending rate to encourage other banks to reduce their lending. Economic rebound. Well, a rebound is when the economy begins to grow after a period of slow growth or even recession. Hawkish stance. First things first, a hawk is an aggressive bird that hunts other birds and animals. But in this case, a hawk refers to a policymaker who is willing to allow interest rates to rise in order to keep inflation under control. So, to have a hawkish stance means to support tightening monetary policy. That's a position, a stance. Dove. A dove is another kind of bird. It's a bird associated with peace and love. And as far as monetary policy goes, a policymaker with a dovish stance is someone who usually supports low interest rates and an expansionary monetary policy. Upward shift. Well, that's to move to a higher point, to move up, to shift up. Well, it's been all over the news this past month, from Brazil to Russia to the United Kingdom. Central banks all over the world are raising their interest rates, and analysts expect that the United States Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank will also begin raising their rates later this year too. So, why is there an upward shift in rates? Well, it is the same reason everywhere. Policymakers want to combat high inflation. They want to defeat high inflation. You see, inflation has spiked all over the world. Prices are soaring for several reasons. Partly, it's a result of all that reactivation cash that governments pumped into their economies during the worst months of the COVID-19 pandemic. But problems in the supply chain, shortages of key components like microchips, and even labor shortages have all contributed to pushing prices higher. Central banks have jumped into action, and it looks like all of the major central banks are now taking a hawkish stance, moving away from the dovish stance that has kept rates low over the last 10 years. But fighting inflation at the same time economies are struggling to recover from the economic setback caused by the pandemic puts central banks in a delicate position. Their job is to tighten monetary policy without hurting the current economic rebound. And to achieve this, there are bound to be trade-offs as policymakers fine-tune their actions in order to reach the right balance for their economies. Okay, friends, did you hear all of our highlighted words and expressions? Well, hopefully now you understand how to use them with confidence. Listen one last time. Soaring inflation, surging prices, tightening monetary policy, economic rebound, hawkish stance, dove, upward shift. Okay, that's all for this week's podcast lesson. If you haven't done so already, follow this podcast so we can stay in touch. Also, I am happy to tell you that you can also watch a version of this podcast on the English for Economists channel on YouTube, where you get the added benefit of being able to read the highlighted words and expressions. Visit the website, EnglishForEconomists.com, to learn about my courses, and of course, share this podcast with anybody you think would enjoy it. The world desperately needs economists who can communicate clearly across borders in English. So please keep up the good work. Keep studying. Don't give up. Until next time, this is Alan Robert. Bye-bye.